Happy New Year!
Feliz Navidad. No, that's not right.
That's not right. All right. Well, good day and welcome to episode 20
New Year
of the Humble Pursuit podcast. I am Bill and joined in studio, a.k.a. at the farm, with Thomas and Tyler. Good day, gentlemen.
Hey, it's so good to be with you on 2022. Is it?
Yeah, it's 2022.
No, it's not.
The wind is still here with us.
The wind is still here. That
we
was
had
from
last
2021.
I'm wearing the same shirt I wore in 2021.
I noticed that. I was going to talk to you about that later. If you need to borrow a couple of bucks to get a new shirt, I got you.
I would appreciate that.
I figured you would. So we're going to start out this new year with the thought of intentionality and being intentional. You know, when we sat down and wrote our mission statement or our motto and went back and forth about what we wanted to each episode to have in it, we came up with the deal that each episode needed to have never settle, never give up moments, living life with urgency, living life to the fullest in an abundance, facing our legacy every day. And if you look at all those words and all of those mottos, they all require that you live life intentionally. And so we thought we would just open it up and talk about some of the things we do intentionally in our life that we probably didn't always do intentionally, and how intentionality has affected our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the topic we're talking about?
It is now.
Apparently it is. Yeah.
Is that it? Is it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, why should we be intentional? Thomas, go.
Who's the most intentional person that it's ever lived?
Me.
Tyler, I'm talking to you.
Oh,
Because I would
is
like
it Sunday?
I'd
Is
like
it Sunday
an
in the morning?
Intelligent
Jesus.
response. Yeah. Well, I think that's the model, right? I mean, for me, every time I think about intentional, I think about living with a purpose, about accomplishing, impacting lives, changing things. I mean, all the accounts that we read about Jesus he was on a mission. I mean, he had people to affect. He had, people to include. He lived his life in an intentional manner. And I don't ever get the vibe from many of his accounts that he was just, well, if I can just get through this Thursday, it'll be Friday, or man, if I could just, all I got to do is get through these meetings and then I'll have the weekend. Yeah,
I'll get these 12 disciples and then it'll just take care of itself.
Yeah, and then I can go
them.
go relax and these guys can go work. I mean, I never got, to me, that's intentionality. I mean, he made conscious decisions to impact the lives that he did, and was never looking for a way, what's after? I just got to get through this so I can get to something I want to do. And I feel like we all, especially I find myself doing that even just out of reflex. I'm just constantly looking at, okay, if I can accomplish X, Y, and Z, then I can finally be at this place. Or if I can get that loan paid off, then imagine what we could do. Or, I'm always looking for that next part. And last time we talked about the pandemic and all these things, and how many times have you heard people say, let's get back to normal? That's BS. I'm like, that's never been the model we were supposed to live. You're never supposed to get back. You're supposed to go, and I don't ever see Jesus living this life of, I just got to get this done so I can go back to what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I do that out of reflex in my life. So intentionality to me is to reject that. Say, I'm going to look forward. I'm going to look for purposeful things to accomplish and do forward. I'm not trying to go back. I'm not trying to get out of something. I'm trying to walk every day and be present and be active in my dynamic life that I've been given.
See, and this brings me to my point is that if you ever walk into a room and you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I mean, you guys are both at least 10 years younger than me, and if I would have had that thought process at a younger age, man, I mean, it's inspirational to hear that. I'm being serious. That was a compliment.
Oh, thank you.
It really was. You know, because for me, I know that intentionality a lot of times was born out of desperation. There was an obstacle that got put in the way, and I had to be intentional to get around it. And I mean, it's only been in the last 10 years of my life that I've been able to say, okay, I need to intentionally do something different here, or intentionally do something different here because I want to go to that next level. You know, I want to do something. I want to achieve something. I want to do something better. You know, and for me, one of the intentional ones was just this year or not this year because we're only a couple of days in. Last year when I realized, hey, I didn't talk to one of my daughters for 2 weeks. And it's like, why haven't you talked to your daughter for 2 weeks? And so being intentional, I want to change. That's something I want to change. I want to make sure that I have touch points every week. And these are daughters that are growing and out of the house and living life on their own. And so, you know, what is the way forward? Okay, well, I'm going to plot a plan. And my plan is I set a deal on my phone to remind me once a week. On Tuesday, you call daughter 1. On Wednesday, you call daughter 3. On Thursday, you call daughter 2. Sprinkle in other people that are important in my life that I want to talk to every week. And, you know, it's been kind of neat because, like with that, not only do I benefit, our relationship benefits, but once you're doing something intentionally, you change your habits. So I don't need the reminder on my phone anymore because it's a habit. And it's a habit that's running both ways there, which is really neat because if I don't call Wednesday night, sometimes we get out of man time late. And that's Corey's night, and Corey's calling me up. Where you at? Why you haven't called me? What's going on? You know, and so that's been really neat.
But that's being present. I mean, intentional is present a lot. I mean, that overlaps quite a bit. But you, by being intentional about making those contacts, you're a present focus in her life. And, you know, and vice versa. And as opposed to just, if I could just, you know, I just get through this part. You know, I mean, you're not a part of anybody's life. You're just existing. You're not living anything.
I think that's where I think about being intentional. The opposite would be static and not moving, not going forward, just blah. And as I drove out here thinking about being intentional as you drive, like this idea that, you know, it's dangerous to not be intentional as you drive when you hit an ice patch, and if you have your car in cruise control, your tires start spinning, and that's how you lose control, right? Is not being intentional as you drive. When you go around a tight corner and you're going too, you know, maybe going a little too fast, I was taught you actually accelerate through it. And when you accelerate through, your tires grip. But if you hit your brakes and kind of just slow down, that's when accidents happen. Same with like a trailer. If you start fishtailing, you accelerate out of it. And being intentional to me is moving forward. Like they say sharks, if they aren't swimming, they sink. And I think that same is true for us. Is if we're not intentional about moving forward, then we're probably going to be sinking. We're not going to be prepared when we hit that ice patch, when stuff happens. I think also in my own life, the times when I don't have a goal ahead of me and I'm not being intentionally seeking, that's when I probably fall the most, you know, morally, or just get out of shape. A lot of things in my life, if I'm not moving forward, if I'm not being intentional, you move backwards pretty quickly. And so it's intentional is about having some forward progress.
You know, it made me think, you and I had a conversation after we had lunch before you went to Nepal last year. And I remember you I don't remember exactly what you asked me, but you said something along the lines of, what's something I should do while I'm over there to, It was kind of that idea of being present, being intentional. And this might not make sense to anybody but me, but my advice in that case was, if you're in a room in a tea house in Nepal, or if you're in a dining room in a house you've never been in, or you're in just the most random place where you would normally not ever pay any attention to, and you're passing through, stop in that space and find something that you've never seen. Like find some part of that room, find something underneath the rug, find some of the most, you can do it with other people around, but find something that you thought, I never would have noticed this if I had not specifically looked for it. And to me and this brain, that helps me to be intentional. It helps me to think I never would have seen that pond driving down I-70 as I do all the time. I never have seen that. And I'm looking at it and I'm present and I'm seeing things that are happening around me. I'm involved in my life now. I mean, even if it's just a tiny little bit, I am intentionally like sensing and seeing what's happening in my life. And it just sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's how I find some of that value of, normally, I'm sitting in some meeting and I'm just like, oh God, I wish this was over so I can go do something I like. It's like, I'm going to find something in this room, or maybe it's a person, and you notice somebody or you notice something that you wouldn't have if you were just trying to just shut your brain off and get through it. And to me, it helps me feel like I'm more a participant in what I'm doing than just, come on, So
That was helpful to me. I appreciated that. It is brings you to the moment, because you're obviously not thinking anything about anything except what is in front of you when you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very grounding, as they say. It's a pretty cool technique.
And I think to kind of put some of those things together, ultimately the reason we need to be intentional is what?
You're talking about the why?
Yeah, what is the why? Why do we need to be intentional?
They've surveyed hospice nurses and asked them, what is the most common regrets you hear from your patients about their life when they're, reflecting? And they say it's like 85 to 90% are things I wish I would have done. Not, I wish I wouldn't have married this person, or I wish I wouldn't have taken this job. It's all the things they didn't end up doing. The things that are absent from their life. And I think one of the whys is we can get to hospice care and find, I can't go back and do that.
Like later today.
Today.
Right.
It could happen
right
like that. And so being intentional that this one life we're given, we do it on purpose. Selfishly. But then also, if we're not being intentional, we're definitely not going to be living for other people and serving them.
Well, and the one thing that I was thinking of that wasn't a trick question, because I think it's probably different for different people, is you both said that you can't stay static. You're either moving backwards or you're moving forward. There's no standing still, and that works as well in our relationship with Christ. You are not going to stand still. You're either going towards it or you're going away from it. You're not just standing there. And so, when we put those intentionalities, those intentional things in our life, why am I doing it? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those are all things that are gifted through that. We live on a small property in Ellsworth County, and we have goats and horses and a cow named Big Mac that's going to be eaten this year. And they have to be fed every night. And I wait until the sun is just about to go down. I can sit on my couch and see out the front window. The sun sets behind me, and I can see when it's about to go down. And that's when I feed every night. Lily a lot of times helps me, but I go outside every night at that time. And it's intentional. I want to see the sunset. I want to see the sunset every night that I can see it. Because in Kansas, in the hills, that usually aren't two words that go together as hills in Kansas, but we live in some hills. The sunsets that are created there are just amazing, and seeing that, it's a spiritual experience every single night.
Yeah, I would almost go as far as to say that it's disrespectful to not be intentional. I think we've been given something that is not, it's not a chance. It's not, we have been intentionally given and have life breathed into us, and for us to spend it in such a way that we're just trying to exist through it and get to the next place is not what we were ever intended to do. I don't think we were ever given that with the intention that you don't really need to do anything. You can be a static organism. We were given this life. We've been modeled after God. There's a purpose behind that, and to live your life and just not take those moments and be a participant in it. It's a dynamic, living, changing thing. to not take part in that it's almost disrespectful to what the intention of what we were given was in the first place. If somebody gives you a phenomenal gift and you just ignore it every day because it's not in your, best interest, I mean, then the whole intent of the gift was ruined, I mean, and so that's almost how of course, I mean, my experience has been a little bit different. I shouldn't have been 17 years old, So, I mean, I everything goes back to that to me. I don't want to go back to when I was 16. That wasn't, the best time of my life. It's like the best time of my life is right now. I mean, and it's seek that out and live that, because I was given that gift twice, and I mean, you've been in a similar experience, and when you've received that, and when you actually get what that means, it's almost like, what can you do to be a part of it more? Like, how can I take this in more?
It changes your lens. I mean,
right.
I wish I could have had that lens as a 16-year-old.
You're right, exactly.
To be able to see the world and our time here is just so minuscule. And what we do with that, it does matter.
Yeah, I heard you saying, Thomas, if somebody gives you a gift and you don't open it and make use of it, man, that's not much use of a gift. I think you can also view our lives as an investment, like the talents, the parable of the talents. And if we just go bury what God's given us and just don't do anything bad, just kind of live, it's like burying it, right? And then the vineyard owner is going to come and say, "What have you done?" Or the person who's given the money, and you have to have show some return on that investment,
which involves risk, which involves participation. I mean, there is some action taking place in that. It's not just this is underground, I know where it is, and I know it'll be there tomorrow. Like that's not intentional. I mean, that's just that's comfort, and I'm going to trade what might be possible for what I know is in the dirt. And that's.
So you do sunsets, you take that in. I try to. My teenage daughter, a tween, still wants me to come say goodnight, and that's a gift. And so I try to be there every night and spend a little bit of time with her, being intentional while we have that, and drop her off at school and making use of those conversations. What about you, Thomas? Is there some? Man, I just want to be intentional, and so this is a practice I have.
I mean, our three kids cannot go to sleep until we both tuck them in. I mean, that's been that way since they were babies. That's something I take really serious now. It's like you were talking about making that contact. It's like, I don't care how tired. Just at the end of the day, you're like, I'm going to go and I'm going to beat on them from their beds for a few minutes, just because that's our time. Every morning when they leave the driveway, because they go to school with my wife, I walk outside. Sun's coming up usually. I wave at them going down the driveway. And Addie rolls the window down and waves at me. And now it's become, are you going to come outside and wave at us? I mean, and it's something that's silly. Or not silly, but I mean, it's become something that's the expectation. Again, it's just that you never get that picture again. The vehicle's going down the driveway. The sunrise is coming up. I mean, that's a picture that is unique to that moment that you're never going to get again. Yeah, you say goodbye again, but you're never going to get your second-year-old daughter waving her hand out the window as they're going down the drive with that sunrise. It's just that moment. Those moments matter. And so, little thing, it doesn't have to be some huge trek or some adventure to be intentional. It's just, it goes right along with being present, I think, to your point.
Well, and being present, being intentional allows us to be in the moment. It allows us to be there. It allows you to soak it in, and sometimes you're not soaking in great and fun vibes, but you're there and you're present.
Yeah,
and you're in that moment. In that moment, we've had some struggles over the years, and some of those really sucked. But I'm grateful now on the other side of them that I was present in those moments and got to be there.
I'm reading a book called The Compound Effect, and the guy takes the principle of investing, right? When you invest and you make a little money and it gets reinvested and it grows, using that in your own personal life, and how really changes in our life happen because of a lot of small decisions done over and over. And one of the recommendations he gives folks is to the first step is just tracking what you do. You know, if you want to change your eating habits, your spending habits, is just track it. And there's an element of writing down. If you want to change your attitude with your wife or anything, eating, if you write down everything related to that, you'll start to pick up your own patterns, and you'll be more intentional based on just the simple observations. He had one CEO who was just really disconnected from his company, so he intentionally had walked around and greeted people and asked them what they're going to do on the weekend, and just by tracking how many conversations he had, really engaged more, he became a much better leader. And so being intentional, it can be some of those big things, but like we're talking about, kind of daily stuff. But some of the first steps is just knowing whether we're doing it or not, and kind of having that kind of internal moral compass or calculator saying that's not enough, or I need to do more here, just by tracking it even before you change it.
Well, that also allows you to cut some of those things out. I mean, that's what that's really good for is, when we look at the most valuable commodity that we can possibly possess, it's time.
Yeah.
And those things that steal our time away, there may be some of those in there that have no value. And
Like this thing, like this phone. I mean,
that has very little.
How much time
value.
can you spend on here? And how many
stupid
minutes?
screen time thing?
How many? And you start it even with the best intentions.
Yep.
And then it's been 5 minutes, it's been 10 minutes, and everything else is still going on. We had this conversation with our kids at dinner last night because, my wife and I, we do that. You get into it, you start going, minutes go by, your brain is busy, you're distracted. All of the life around you is still happening. Everything's still going on just like it would if you were actively participating, but you're not. You're completely absent from it. And that's I think that might be the biggest distraction we all have right now, is that is in your face, vying for your attention all the time.
Might be a good one for 2022 is being intentional about screen time and just what we're giving our energy to. And it's about choosing the good things, but like you're saying, what do we need to cut out? A lot of the best ways to focus is by blurring out the non-essential.
Absolutely, and just finding those things that, where do you want to be better this year? That's I think we talked in the last episode that I started reading last year. I wanted to be better, and that's turned into a habit. So I'm going to read this year. That's just a given. That's there. So now, okay, what is the next thing that I need to add onto there?
Sure.
Is it fine tuning what I'm reading, or is it let's look at another habit that another space of time that I'm not using that I need to invest somewhere else.
Make it matter.
Make it matter. That's right.
And eat primal beef jerky.
And eat primal beef jerky.
Lots of it.
Is that my cue to wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
We're going to cut this one short, but tune in. We've got some good episodes coming up. We've got just starting to think about 2022 and who all we're going to have on here, and we've already got some good ideas floating around. So keep tuning in. Tell your friends about us. Like us on the social medias. And buy Primal Jerky. We are stuck on bag 116 of Primal Jerky, made right here in Kansas. Small company owned by Bo and Devin down in Hutchinson. They do an amazing job. All of their beef jerky is from 100% USDA beef. They started this company in the midst of a pandemic, basically out of a kitchen, about 2 years ago. I don't think we're quite to the 2-year point. And they're now in at least 3 states, in over 180 stores. And, man, they're awesome dudes on top of that. So they have 5 or 6 flavors currently. And my favorite is cracked pepper.
It should be.
That's finally 2022. You've wised up.
See, he's learning.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm trying to be honest this year. My favorite is actually hot, but the gentleman to my left and the gentleman to my right, their favorites are both cracked pepper.
It's got a nice bite to it.
It does. It does.
jumps at it. Yeah.
I just prefer a more manly flavor.
Okay.
You have a lot to compensate for, so that makes perfect sense.
My favorite flavor is lavender.
Hey, have you made any deer jerky or any sausage?
I have not. I did get a smoker,
Nice.
so, but no, I haven't made anything with it
All
yet.
right. Well, I am not doing any sausages or jerkies this year. So I'm going to learn. You're going to have to teach me next year. Or last year. I'm not doing them last year because this is 2022,
Yeah,
right?
Of course, right.
So 2022, though, you're going to have to teach me. Are you up for that?
Can do.
Excellent, excellent. Well, if you want to check out Primal Jerky, you can go to their Facebook page. It's at Primal Jerky, or they have an interweb presence at www.feedonprimal.com. We also have a Facebook page. It's at the Humble Pursuit Podcast. We have a YouTube page. I don't know what it's at .com. And we have a Twitter at Humble Pursuit. You can listen to us any place that podcasts are played, pretty much. And any closing thoughts on the first episode of 2022?
Man, should have been more intentional about thinking about closing
Should've been more
comments.
That just tied right in there, didn't it?
Get her done.
Get her done. Did I say pert near?
No.
No.
Pert near. Okay.
Episode's pretty near done.
Episode's pert near done. Remember, never settle, never give up. Live life with urgency to the fullest and in abundance. Face your legacy every day. Always remembering the only day guaranteed is yesterday. For Thomas, Tyler, and myself, God bless. We're out.